and welcome to Sellers and Makers Podcast, a place artisans can come together in community, brought to you by Everything Embroidery Market. I'm your host, Hope Dale, and
Christina Schulman, and today we are so excited to be talking with Miss Lisa Potts. Thank you so much for joining us today. So Lisa's been a teacher at many Everything Embroidery Markets, and you kind of have a broad background, I would say. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and then maybe how you got in the industry?
Sure. So I am one of those lifelong crafters. I got my first Cricut right out of college because one of my RAs had one. So I've always been crafting. And so in 2014, I began working at a company that sold vinyl, machines, equipment, software. And so I came on and started doing a lot of the silhouette training. So I have almost 10 years of experience in teaching, specifically silhouette and vinyl cutting, that sort of crafting. And so I did that for several years. And then I decided one day I wanted to get back to marketing. And so I got a job as a social media coordinator, but realized that I still wanted to teach. So about 2 years ago, I started Lisa Potts Designs. So I focus on a lot of designing in Silhouette Studio. I still do stuff with vinyl and my silhouette, but I have expanded into Glowforge. So that's kind of my main thing now. I do a ton of videos on Glowforge, how to understand the software. And my selling point with everything I do is breaking down the basics. I think that doing a tutorial is fine. And if someone wants to replicate what I do, that's great. But at the end of the day, I focus on making sure people understand what they're doing. And so they can use those same tools to work on other projects or empower themselves to get familiar with their machine. So it is kind of a wide background. I do all of my own video editing. I do all of my own marketing, and it's a lot, but I do enjoy it. And I love coming to the shows, and I love teaching, and it's a lot, but I really, really enjoy it.
Okay. And so would you mind explaining to people, if you're not familiar, what Glowforge is?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So Glowforge, there's one right behind me. It's a home desktop. They call it a 3D laser printer. It doesn't actually, print 3D like the traditional 3D printer, but it's pretty much a laser that can engrave images, but it can also cut and engrave into other mediums. So the reason why I went into it is that it's a very easy transition if you're familiar with cutting already, especially with vinyl. So you can have it at home. You can cut through a ton of materials. Some of them are wood, acrylic, felt, fabric, paper, and you can engrave into a lot of things. So I've engraved into slate, glass, cutting boards, and there's just a wide range of items that you can make with it. So it's a great complement to your vinyl cutting business. Some people even just transition straight over to using a laser for their business or their home hobbying.
Yes. And I know in the past, you've taught some classes how to do a project using both. So you don't have to do one or the other. You can use both and then create something even just a little bit more extra special. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yes. Okay. And so you mentioned that you teach you create a whole lot of videos and you do editing and whatnot, but you actually have a YouTube channel where you post those videos. So tell us a little bit about that and then how you got into YouTube.
Correct. So I have Lisa Potts Designs on YouTube. I try to keep it simple. You should be able to find me, Lisa Potts Designs, on all of my channels. So I actually got into YouTube through my old job. So the company that I used to work for had a really big YouTube presence. And so I basically made videos almost all day, every day, teaching silhouette, how to use the software, and different projects that you can do. And so when I went off on my own, it was just a natural progression to start my own channel. YouTube, after Google, is the second most searched engine. There are people out there all the time looking for videos, trying to figure out how to do it. I just used YouTube the other day on how to switch out the drain in my bathtub, and I got it done. Yes. So I knew that there was an audience out there. And when I was searching there, the silhouette market, the vinyl market's really saturated. You can find a video from anyone on anything, but I struggled in finding a video that connected Glowforge to those people. And I struggled finding a video that used basic software like Silhouette. A lot of times when I started, a lot of the videos were Illustrator. And so I knew that the audience that was the crafter audience but wanted to move to the Glowforge, didn't exactly want to learn an Adobe software. They kind of wanted to stick to something that they were familiar with. And you kind of come from big designers. And so they needed someone who understood how they thought and how they work and how do I make it work for my Glowforge. So that kind of all culminated into my YouTube channel. And I'm very much like, I like to explain things. And so writing a blog is not for me because it's a lot of writing. So the video format worked out really well for what I was trying to do.
Yes. No, I love that. And you recently hit a big milestone on YouTube. Yes.
I did. I hit 10,000. So I hit 10,000 subscribers within right around 2 years. I think it was like 3 days after I started my channel. So I was really, really excited about that. Yeah, that was a big accomplishment.
Yeah, that's huge. Congratulations. That's so exciting. And that just proves that you are right. There is a need for that.
Yeah. I love that you want to teach the software, not just, the basics of the software so people can create, because there are so many like tutorials on certain projects. And then people that are like, wait, so can I like cherry pick this and that and this? And then they're like, I don't know how to put it all together. I absolutely love that because I'm the person that I always want to go back to like the root so that I can create how I want to create. And sometimes if you don't know the software backwards and forwards like that, it's really hard to come up with your idea or how to execute it. I love that. That is obviously there's a lot of others that love it as well.
Yeah, I think it's all about empowering people. Whenever you have a software or whenever you have a machine like the Glowforge, the hardest part is always getting started. And I know like for me, there are certain areas where I struggle with because I just don't have a roadmap of where to go. And so when you start with the basics and you just explain as you go, hey, I clicked this button because this is what it does. I'm using it for this reason, but you can use it for X, Y, and Z. Then it helps the user understand and feel, okay, I can do that as well.
Right. I love that you use the word empower because I do think, at least for me personally, there are things that even beyond just our little decorating industry here, YouTube's empowered me to feel like, okay, I can do that too. Like you said, you change a drain, or I don't know. There's just been so many times that you go to YouTube, how to blah, blah, blah. Or what is blah, blah, blah. And then you get to hear it, see it, and be like, oh, that person's just like me. You feel more of a personal connection because like you're seeing someone actually doing the steps versus just reading the words on a page. So I love that. And I love that your passion kind of shines through on your videos. And then just the way you talk about what you're doing, that's one thing that I love about our industry is I feel like in general, most of us that are here because we have a passion about creating something. Some people it's sublimation, some people it's the lasers, the vinyl, the embroidery, whatever it is. It's a passion that grew from one stage and has evolved to whatever you're doing today. And you get to just kind of do what you love every day. So that's awesome. Now let's talk about Glowforge a little bit. What is your very favorite project that you've ever made using your Glowforge?
That's always a hard question to answer. I like Glowforge for a lot of different reasons. And so it's hard to rank my projects. One of the things I love about Glowforge is how it can engrave into wood. And so I had a project I did 2 Christmases ago where someone I knew had several pages of a journal that her grandmother had. And so she had a phrase that her grandmother used to say. I think it's like, I love you forever, the angels are singing, something along those lines. But she didn't have something with her grandmother writing that specific thing. So I was able to use my silhouette. I was able to kind of break apart the writing, put it back together. And then I engraved a board that she gave to someone for Christmas with that phrase in her grandmother's writing. So one thing that I really love about Glowforge is that you can engrave the handwriting. And for me, it's such a honor to be able to preserve those memories for someone because those things really matter. And so I went through a loss earlier this year. We lost my dad. And so walking through that as well, it really gave a lot of weight to being able to give that back to someone. So I would say that type of project is my favorite. After that, last summer I built like this huge sign. I put it on a 4 foot by 2 foot piece of plywood, but it had these huge cutouts of like tropical leaves, and it was intended for a nursery. And so that was probably one of my favorite projects outside of that, just because it took several steps, and it just I was really happy with how it turned out. It was really beautiful. And so my friend moved, and it's not even up in her kitchen
Oh, no.
yet. But one of these days, I'll be so happy to see it up in a nursery.
That's cool though. Like, so lots of different steps, and then you see the final product, and it's like, I did that. I
That's
did that.
me.
Yes.
Mhm.
And back to your point on the handwriting, I know that's super, it's just a very special thing. And it's that's right. And it almost becomes like an heirloom type thing in the family that gets, that you keep that forever. And so to know you're a small part of that is pretty cool.
I think it's really cool. I get a lot of recipes too. So I love reading the recipes. I think I might just start trying them out. Like I've collected so many from different customers. I'll just start doing some of those recipes.
I have some of those recipes.
You should try it out and then make a cookbook.
Yeah, all the handwritten recipes I've gotten. That would be really cool.
My stolen family recipe cookbook.
Yeah. Yes, there'd be a market for that,
Oh, gotta be.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about
how about we do the icebreaker question?
Oh yeah. Okay. So this is a little bit of a random thought, but one of the things that we were talking about as far as icebreakers go, what, if any, did you name your very first car?
So my first car was a 2001 Hyundai Santa Fe. And so I don't know why I stick to names that start with the type of car. So I named that car Sheila. Sheila the Santa Fe. And then I had a Jeep Liberty. Oh, I named her Rosie, but she was a red Jeep Liberty. And then now I have a Mazda 6. I don't know I don't think my Scarlet. No, I don't know. No, it is Scarlet. Yes, my Mazda 6 is now Scarlet because it's a red car as well.
I love it. I love it. See, that's like a smart thing. My very first car was an Explorer, and it had like a grill guard in the front, and I called it Road Monster.
Those are more fun. I don't know why I always stick to people names for everything. I named my dog Lacey. Like I'm just like a people name person.
Mine was Dot.
Dot.
It was a navy little Mercedes, and it was a 96. So it was 10 years. It was almost 10 years old when I got it. And I don't know. I just named her Dot. I was like dotting around.
Named her Dot. I love it. Okay. So we thought that would be a fun icebreaker because I wanted to talk about, do you name your machines also?
Yeah. So, well, I've only named my Glowforge, and part of the reason why I did is when you set up and register your machine, you give it a name. So most of the people will say Glowforge or Mega Laser. I named mine Glowzel. So Glowforge, and then it's like an old YouTube video that I used to really like watching. So this is Glowzel.
Hello. Nice to meet you. That's funny.
So happy you're here, Glowzel.
Yes, we're happy. We create lots of beautiful things. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a good namer. Like my not super creative. I had Road Monster, and then my 10 needle. Her name is Big Bertha. So, but I haven't named like any like my silhouette or anything like that. My heat press. Those haven't gotten any names.
I don't think I have either. It's just my silhouette and my heat press.
Yes. No. I think it's fun though. So when I get mad, I'm like, Bertha, like, why'd you do that? Why'd you eat my shirt? Oh man.
Okay. So what are some of your favorite products that you use?
So some of my favorite products kind of vary. So I love to use a lot of acrylic. So I get glitter acrylic, like a cute little pearl acrylic, and solids and clears. So I get those from Cerulean Tides. I like using acrylic a lot because I don't have to paint it. So I went through a progression when I got my Glowforge, and it was like, I'm going to do everything out of wood because it's so cool, and I'm going to paint this. And then I don't want to do that anymore. Like, I want less steps. I'm efficiency queen. So acrylic's been great because you get a solid color and then you don't have to paint it. And then, of course, I love using wood. So I'll get like sheets from Woodpecker's Crafts or Amazon or my local hardware store. And so those are great for keychains, little trinkets. I love doing keychains and ornaments because the space that you use for it is not necessarily a lot. But because Glowforge, because of like engraved or laser cut items, they have a much higher perceived value. I can also sell them at a higher profit. So I can use one sheet of wood and get a pretty decent profit out of it because each keychain or each ornament starts at like $12 or $15. And so you're using less space, but making more of a profit. And then after that, of course, I love a good cutting board or a charcuterie board. So I'll either get those online, or I love going to Marshall's, TJ Maxx, and just my normal life. So I'll get boards from there. They always stock up on boards, like in the fall to go into like the holiday season. So I'll just get a ton of those and use those to engrave as well. And they work really well.
I saw you did a pizza. I loved that.
Yeah, pizza paddle. I got that from Hobby Lobby, and it almost didn't work out because I wanted to use it to go through the pass-through slot in the Glowforge machine, but it was just too thick, like just a little bit. And so it's long, and there are limitations to every machine, and Glowforge's one of their limitations is just the engraving area. It's meant to be for home use. It barely fit in my Glowforge. I did in my video, I had to move the arm to make sure it fit, but if it would have been like a half inch, quarter inch larger, it would not have worked. But it worked out nice. And now we have a Potts Pizzeria pizza board in our house.
And it was meant to be, right?
Meant to be.
Meant to be. So you mentioned selling your product. How do you sell it? Where do you sell it? Wholesale, retail? What's that about?
So I am strictly word of mouth. I do have an online store and a very baby Etsy page. Like many of your listeners, probably, I do this outside of a full-time job. So I actually run social media for a county in Florida for my day job. I'm on my lunch break right now. So I focus mainly on my education part of my business. So that's my YouTube channel, my one-on-one training, speaking engagements, that sort of thing. And then I do have my finished goods side, which is a smaller portion of my sales. So I get a lot of sales through word of mouth, a lot of sales through my church. So like many people, it's like through your community. And then I'll get random people through my Facebook page. So when you start a business, you're like, I don't want to be too salesy. Don't post about stuff like that. But, one thing that I do recommend is do post about it. Don't try to be too salesy, but I always posted just things that I made and I was proud of it. And people see that and they notice it. And so I will get messages from people that I haven't spoken to in years, or I've went to college with, and I don't even live in the same state. And they'll say, hey, I saw you posted blah, blah, blah on here. I would like to get one for a birthday or Christmas or whatever. And so that's how some of my sales have come in, just through there. So I'm a big proponent of social media. I mean, I built my whole business on it, but people notice. And so I'm mainly like a word of mouth girl.
I love that. You don't have to be salesy. Actually, I feel like a lot of times if you are salesy, it turns people off. But if you create something that you're proud of, and you post it in that sort of light, and you're genuine in the way that you present it, people kind of gravitate towards that. And even if you just continually post, people will see it, and maybe they don't order today, but maybe it's like, oh, my friend Lisa posted that like 6 months ago, and now that would work perfectly for my best friend's baby shower or whatever. And then it's like ingrained in their mind, and they may not even know that they need it at the time, but later on they'll come back. And I mean, you said that you do social media, pretty much for a living, but that's the cool thing about social media, is that you reach so many people and you can be yourself, and you should be yourself. I feel like people are drawn to that authenticity a little bit, and then they come back and then they order, and then they're happy with what they get and they tell their friends.
And then people also, they want to have that relationship. Like, I ordered this from a girl that I met in college, or a girl that we were in the same dorm, or, a friend from high school. And like, they get really excited that they have that relationship with the person that made it. It's not just, I ordered this on Amazon, I hope you like
I
it.
think there's
It's special.
Right. Yeah. And I think that for me specifically, there's another unique opportunity because I've been able to build a channel like to the extent that I have is sometimes I'll get people who are just so excited that their project is the one that I've done on a YouTube video.
Mhm.
It's something that helps me because I always need content. And
Right.
so we'll get friends of mine who are like, oh my gosh, that's me on there. But I'll say it here because they won't hear this. Like my friends that I see in my day-to-day life, they don't watch my videos. So
Yeah.
I'll do guests for them all the time on my YouTube videos, but they have no idea. And
Yeah.
so they won't even know. They're not going to listen to this. But,
Yeah.
my further off friends get really excited about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My, I guess business has evolved. I don't do a lot of projects for people anymore.
Mhm.
It's solely for the business, which I hate that. I need to do better for my kiddos, but that I do monograms, and then I'll post the little, embroidery video on TikTok or whatever. And some people will be like, that's mine. Like they'll send me a direct message and be like, I can't wait to get it. And that's kind of a cool little thing. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were watching, but welcome.
Yes, people are watching. They're there.
And they get so excited. I mean, I've seen stuff that was mine that has been stitched out or whatever I've ordered. If I see it, like someone fulfilling an order that I've ordered through whatever channel, whether it's a monogram or something on Etsy or what, I get like real excited. Like, that's mine.
Yeah, people have built whole TikTok channels on fulfilling orders and fulfilling specific people's orders, and they always get tons of views, and everyone's excited.
Yeah, and they'll actually place an order because they know their name will be said immediately. Like, thank you for your order, Lisa, thanks for ordering. And then this is what they ordered. I've seen some of those, and I'm like, yeah, people back you up. I'm going to switch gears a little bit back to when you receive the order. One thing that I saw, I always offered before all of this, when I had my little Etsy shop, one thing that I had a problem that I was very small, right? And I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of money on blanks or designs or whatever just out of my pocket. I was afraid to do that because I was afraid then they wouldn't sell. But if I always open myself up to, I do customization. And so people would then message me or, send me an email or whatever it was and say, I'd like to order this. Do you have it? I didn't, but the answer was always, yes, I can make that. And then I was able to create that. And then it would be like a trickle effect because maybe it wasn't something that I thought of in my head, but now I have it here because you wanted it. You told me exactly how, you created all the different design aspects. And now I'm making a ton of sales without having to come out of pocket. And the only reason was because I posted after, or during the process. And so if you don't, I think that you had a really good point there, Lisa. Just post. Post and show your excitement about it. 100%.
Yeah, people are attracted to businesses where they feel like they know the person. And so people want to see the behind the scenes. They want to see every step of the process. And so if you're only posting your final product, or if you're not even posting your final product, people don't know. And people love to see the transformation of things. So when you post as you go on, they are excited to see where it goes. And then at the end, they're like, I want that too. I want to order that. And then you can generate sales that way.
Yes. So when it comes to social media, do you have any other suggestions? If say I'm a new business just getting started, what would your top social media do's be, like your top 3?
That's always a hard question because everyone has a different style and everyone has a different channel. So as cheesy as it is, I think the first thing that I would always recommend is just to be yourself. One of the things that I do is I just get on my stories and I don't look good. Most of the time I'm in my pajamas, my hair is a mess, but people enjoy hearing the updates on what's going on. Do I have any projects going on? And like I mentioned before, I give people updates on just my life, like, hey, I'm trying to get content out, but I'm working through a lot of stuff. I think too, consistency is big. You don't have to post every day necessarily, but keeping somewhat of a schedule so that you're not posting and then people forget about you. You want to have some sort of consistency. I actually gained quite a few followers and more consistency when I was, one, posting consistently, but two, reels on Instagram was a huge help for me. And they don't have to be as complicated as you think it is. Some of my most viewed reels have been simple time lapses. So another thing that I would say along with that is to try to film as much as you can. Whether you're just doing embroidery or you're picking out stuff or whatever, people love to see your process. I think us as humans, we love order. And so even just seeing the order you put into things is something that people enjoy. And so I would say no part of your business is boring enough. There have been videos that have a ton of views of someone just sitting there studying. They're not even doing anything for the camera. They're just looking at the computer. But that's the crazy part about social media. So I think the third thing would be to keep social media social. They have a term, post and ghost. Don't do that. Don't just post and expect everyone to come to you and praise you and you never engage. So I make it a habit to try to reply to my comments or at least like comments when I get them in. And then I spend time searching out relevant hashtags or searching out other creators. The great thing about the craft world and the apparel industry is that it's very community based. And so you can actually get pretty far in social media with just building relationships with other people who do the same thing as you. So I have people who I communicate with very often on Instagram who are also Glowforge users. And it's great to kind of see the different things that we do. And we're comfortable enough to be able to message each other and be like, hey, I'm having a hard time with such and such. How do you do it? So I think being able to have that community really stands, has something to stand on because you can promote each other. And people, again, love to see authentic people. So if they see that you're interacting with a lot of people and that you're a trusted resource in the industry, then they're more apt to purchase from you as well.
Yeah. And I love that you said don't post and ghost because it builds that relationship. People want to see their friends succeed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can become friends online without, having that personal interaction. You can, it happens. That's something that I've seen just through our business too. There are people that I've never actually physically met. I feel like I know them. And anytime they post, I want to comment because I've seen the progression of their business and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. And then because maybe not just me, but say I post, that encourages other people to chime in as well. And it almost becomes like a ripple effect. One person commented, oh, I love that. Oh, I love that too. And then the algorithm gets picked up, it gets showed to more people. And, it's a win-win almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think just like you said earlier, that the hardest part of starting something new is just starting because people are scared. And I think people are, I think social media is kind of ingrained into our society right now. It definitely is. But people, for whatever reason, view social media for personal use different than they view social media for business. And they're afraid to crossover or even combine the two a little bit. And that's just not how it should be, I feel.
Yeah.
Okay, so you now have been teaching for quite some time. What's your favorite topic or way to teach? So online versus in person versus, I don't know.
I think it's tied. I really like teaching in person. I really love teaching at conferences. I love teaching basic software. I love showing projects that you can do in Glowforge, but showing people the software and explaining how it goes and watching the lights turn on for people is really rewarding for me. And that kind of goes hand in hand with my one-on-one sessions. I really enjoy them because it's not to be redundant, they're one-on-one. So they're really catered to what the person needs. And it's great to kind of see in just an hour what we can accomplish. And I have people who will book recurring sessions with me. So it's really rewarding to see, and they're recorded. So you can look back at the first one and see how they're asking questions on everything. And, after 2, 3, 4, whatever, I'm literally just sitting there saying, yep, while they go ahead and do the entire project. So software is really big for me because I think it unlocks everything. If you're able to do the software and you're able to design what you want, the production part comes easy because it's just a matter of figuring out your settings.
Yeah, no, for sure. And now so for your one-on-one classes, is that done via Zoom or?
Yeah, so I have a link on my website. It's super easy. If anyone did want to do a one-on-one session, they would just go purchase the training session, and then I use Calendly, and so they get a link to my Calendly that books an appointment. It makes the Zoom link, and so we just do a recorded Zoom session that they get to watch as much as they want.
Okay, and so what about content for those one-on-one sessions? Because I think that's cool. A lot of people, that's awesome that you offer both. You offer the pre-recorded, YouTube channels that people can watch over and over again. And like Hope said, sometimes it's hard to connect the dots. So you could then go to your one-on-one sessions and then dig a little bit deeper. So do you have any content that is this is what we have to discuss, or is it kind of open to everything software Glowforge?
Right. It's open to pretty much everything. I have kind of like a questionnaire whenever people come in to make their appointment. And it just asks them basic things like, how do you rank your skill level? How much do you use such and such? And then what specific items do you want to cover? The majority of the time, it's a software-based session because, again, once you know software, you can kind of move to the other things. But I've also done it was actually really unique. I actually did a one-on-one session where she had me on her phone and we walked through how to use the pass-through feature on her Glowforge. So that was interesting because there was a lot of moving around the camera to figure out how to place it, but it's really geared towards whatever the person wants, but almost always it's software because it's either I have no idea what I'm doing, or hey, I have this file, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z, but I can't figure it out. Can you walk me through it? So a lot of that, and I think it always ends up pretty well, but I'll let them speak for me.
Hey, they keep coming back. So
no, I think that's awesome because there's so many times you're stuck on a project. You're like, I don't know how to move forward, but I don't want to mess up what I have. Exactly. I don't want to mess up my materials. And I mean, sometimes you do just have to.
It's part of learning.
You're going to mess it up. But sometimes you're just like, I don't know what to do and I'm stuck. And being able to reach out to you and set up a time, that is awesome. And have someone to help you work through it.
Right. And people think in different ways. So sometimes what I would say on a YouTube video may work for 70% of people, but sometimes you just need to have it explained to you in a different way. Right. I know sometimes my husband is very smart, and sometimes he talks about things that I don't get. And so I literally have to sit there and say it again with different words. And so with training, sometimes it's just saying it again with different words, or, we all have unique experiences. So sometimes, everyone views a video this way, but someone might watch the video and have a question about a process, or can I do it this way? So the one-on-one training can say, yes, your thought process is valid too. You just need to do this, this, and this instead of this over here. Right.
Yeah. No, I love that. And that's one of the things I love about our industry is community over competition. Where while I've said this many times, I know it's a small industry, but there's still room for everyone. And I feel like in general, it doesn't matter if you're selling the exact same thing. People will shop with you for a different reason that they're going to shop with me. And being able to support each other is important. And really, that's what we are trying to convey with Everything Embroidery Market. And I feel like you encompass that completely. I mean, that is what your business is. That's what it's built on, helping people just start whatever it is, not be afraid to learn and then try something new, and then teaching them and then being there maybe it's to hold their hand at the beginning and then be their cheerleader once they start to perfect it.
Right.
And I love that. That is what gets me fired up. That's what gets me excited. Seriously, I love it so much.
Okay, so you will be at Everything Embroidery Market in Myrtle Beach, and you'll be there to teach a few classes. Not entirely sure which ones yet.
We're working through it.
We're working through it. We have a couple of obstacles, but we will get through that.
So hopefully by the time this podcast airs, we'll have all of that lined out. We're working to get registration up and running very, very soon. But regardless what you're teaching, I think it's going to be great. I mean, as you can tell, just listening to Miss Lisa here, she has a passion for teaching you and just leading you into to be able to open up and do the things that you want to do. So we're so excited that you're going to be there. Just a quick plug for Myrtle Beach. It's going to be September 22nd through 24th at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center. And we have a huge amount of vendors and classes and all these different things that are going to be going on, all with the same goal, just to get you started. Or if you've been doing this for years, to light a fire under you so that you leave a bigger, community behind you and just excited to do what you love. So if you have not signed up already, hopefully registration is up when this goes live. But we are continuing to update the website with at least the vendors. The hotel information is already there. And then when this goes live, we should have registration open. We're working as fast as we can. It's everythingembroiderymarket.com. And just check out those vendors, check out those classes. I think you will be pleasantly surprised. Also, Myrtle Beach is such a cool place. There's so much to do. We've been kind of talking with the tourism board there, and they're just like, oh, and you can do this and you can do this. And I'm like, okay, we're going to eat some good food and hang out. So we hope to see you there. Lisa, before we head off here, tell everyone again where they can find you.
Sure. So I am at lisapottsdesigns.com, and then you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Lisa Potts Designs. So pretty simple to find me. Just look me up, and I'm excited to see you there.
Yes, and watch some of those videos. If you want to dig deeper, sign up for one of those one-on-one classes. I think even if it's just to chat about your next project. So, all right, Lisa, I really appreciate you coming here and dealing with all of the crazy shenanigans that is kids home at summer and chatting about the things that you love. We cannot wait to see you again in Myrtle Beach. And thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.